Hello everybody! This presentation is about hazard analysis and critical control points principles. In short words, HACCP principles. My name is Joanna Trafiałek. I am a professor at the Warsaw University of Life Sciences. I have over 25 years of professional experience as a food technologist, university lecturer, and auditor. I teach food hygiene and food safety, including HACCP principles. Food safety and systems for ensuring food safety are my main scientific areas of interest. Food safety procedures are mandatory in many countries, including European Union countries, for all food business operators. They have to develop, implement, and maintain HACCP-based procedures to ensure food safety. HACCP is an acronym for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points. Please keep in mind that before the implementation of HACCP procedures, prerequisite programs should be well established, fully operational, and verified. There are 7 HACCP principles. 1. Hazard analysis. 2. Determining critical control points, in short words, CCPs. 3. Establishing critical limits at CCPs. 4. Establishing and implementing effective monitoring procedures at CCPs. 5. Establishing corrective actions when monitoring indicates that a CCP is not under control. 6. Establishing verification procedures. 7. Establishing documents and records. Today, I'm going to tell you about principles referring to critical control points. That will be principles number 2, 3, 4, and 5. You will learn how to determine critical control points, what are critical limits, and how to establish a system to monitor CCPs and corrective actions taken when a deviation occurs. Principle number 2 refers to the determining of CCPs. CCPs are important for ensuring food safety. You should remember that more than one CCP can be identified. However, on the other hand, in certain organic food businesses, it is not possible to identify CCPs at all. In such situation, HACCP-based documentation should be developed without CCP procedures. The question is how to decide which step in the production diagram should be identified as a CCP. You can apply several methods for CCPs determining. For example, a decision tree, expert consultations, or using the HACCP team's experience. The choice depends on the HACCP team. The determining of CCPs has to be documented. A good solution is summing up the CCP's identification in a table format where all information will be given. You can develop a special table where all issues essential to the CCP's determining can be recorded. In the next slide, I'm going to explain the content of such a table. Examples of CCPs in organic production could be the reception of milk, pasteurization, flour sieving, baking, cold storage, or smoking. The table shows 2 CCPs, such as meat, vegetable broth boiling, and pasteurization. The names of CCPs have to be given in the first column. In the second column, you should list the hazards that have to be controlled in the specific CCP. You can use abbreviation of the previously listed hazards. For example, at the stage of pasteurization, B means biological hazards and C is chemical hazards. Your decision on whether the step needs to be identified as CCP has to be written in column number 3. In the next column, you should provide the justification of your decision and the decision-making method. In the presented case, 3 methods were used. That is, testing of product samples, expert consultation, and decision tree. In the last, 5th column, the answers for each of 4 decision tree questions shall be recorded. This slide shows the principle number 3, that is establishing of critical limits. Meeting the critical limits is a guarantee of organic food safety. Critical limits should be established for each CCP. Critical limits correspond to the maximum values of certain parameter or parameters acceptable with regard to product safety. The establishment of critical limits should be based on experience, best practice, internationally accepted standards, scientific publications, EU legislation, European Food Safety Authority opinions. Critical limits should be validated. Parameters for which critical limits are being set can be measured or observed. Examples of measured parameters include temperature, time, pH, moisture content, amount of additive, preservative or salt, and observed parameters are visual appearance of texture, change of physical properties of food during processing. Principle number 4 refers to monitoring of the critical limits at each CCP. Let's start with the explanation of the word monitoring. In simple words, monitoring means control or checking, and its aim is to ensure compliance with specified critical limits. The control of CCPs should be the scheduled measurement or observation at a CCP in relation to its critical limits. Therefore, the HACCP team has to plan the method and frequency of monitoring. Where possible, monitoring should be continuous. It can be the control of measurable critical limits such as processing time and temperature. In contrast, other measurable critical limits such as preservative concentration cannot be monitored continuously. In such situations, periodic control should be applied. It is recommended to design documentation of the monitoring procedures. They should describe the methods, frequency of observation or measurements, and the recording procedure for monitoring results. In the next slide, I'm going to present a simple way of monitoring establishment. Here, a few words of introduction are needed. It is possible to combine the documentation of several HACCP principles in one document. Such a solution is presented in the table you see. This slide shows information about HACCP principles number 3 and 4. In the first 2 columns, we write the names of CCPs and the kind of hazards. Then, the third column contains the parameters and their values referring to principle number 3, establishing critical limits. The next column column number 4 refers to principle number 4, that is monitoring system. The column is divided into 4 parts referring to essential information about the monitoring system. The columns mean what, that is, what should be measured or observed, for example, time and temperature. How, that is, how the parameter should be measured or observed. For example, manual temperature and time measurement with a thermocouple and timer. Next, when, that is the frequency of the measurement or observation. And who, that is, who is responsible for monitoring activities. The last column, number 5, corresponds to the record of the performed activities. Therefore, in the last column, the name of the form for monitoring of CCPs should be given. Principle number 5 refers to corrective action. Corrective action is any action taken when a deviation occurs in order to re-establish control, segregate and determine the disposition of the affected product, if any, and prevent or minimize the reoccurrence of the deviation. Specific plan of the corrective actions should be developed for each CCP in the HACCP plan in order to effectively respond to deviations when they occur. The corrective action plan should be developed in advance at the time of HACCP plan development. Various corrective actions can be planned. For example, reprocessing, diverting of product to another use, repair of the device, retraining, replacement of the device with a new or functional one. A periodic review of corrective actions should be undertaken to identify trends and to ensure corrective actions are effective. Now, I'm going to explain how to design the documentation of corrective actions. I present the table that is already known to you. You know columns number 1, 2, 3 and 4. And now I'm going to modify a little bit the last columns. I added the 5th column for establishing the corrective actions. In addition, I changed the name of column number 6 in such a way that it contains both records for the monitoring and for the corrective actions. The developed table is the summary of a few HACCP principles together. It sums up principle number 3, 4 and 5 and is a good source of information for the development of HACCP-based procedures. From the practical point of view, 2 procedures are needed, that is monitoring of critical limits at each CCP and corrective actions taken when a deviation occurs. Let me briefly summarize your knowledge about HACCP principles. HACCP is a system for ensuring food safety and it consists of 7 HACCP principles. In this system, CCPs play a special role for organic food safety. CCPs are determined based on hazard analysis. A HACCP team has to establish critical limits for each CCP, which should be monitored. In case the monitoring system reveals that critical limits are out of control, corrective actions have to be undertaken. Please remember that all HACCP principles should be documented in a HACCP plan. The HACCP plan is a set of documents prepared in accordance with the HACCP principles to control of significant hazards. In the frame of our project, we developed HACCP plans for selected organic products, for example, traditional Polish bigos. you can download the developed HACCP plans and all other project results from the project website. Thank you for your attention. To find out more, visit the project website.